So we're going to be talking about a flora of Waterton Lakes National Park by Job Kite and Wanderlust, a traveler's guide to the globe.
And
So,
Julian Huxley, Biological Aspects of Cancer.
you've already talked about it twice.
Yeah, but now I actually finished it up
Okay.
for people, that are a little worried, shall we say, that I don't
No,
need.
let's just talk about these.
Oh, yeah,
Because we
well-
haven't talked about these at all.
Yeah, we can talk about this
And-
one tomorrow. Okay, so go for it.
So, Flora of Waterton Lakes National Park is awesome. There's a few things about it. The line drawings are really well done, but they're not in color, which makes it hard. Not always, like some of the descriptions don't always say, don't always mention flower color or things like that, which I don't know if that was an oversight sometimes or whatever. I don't know.
You
But
kind of
still-
wish they'd come out with I don't know if he's around, he's
Yeah.
retired and stuff. If you're out there, Job Kite, thank you for putting this out. This would have been a life's work and stuff like that. I remember
very
seeing him out
thick.
at the university back in the day and stuff like that. You did the job. Like a lot of academics don't and stuff like that, and they get paid top coin. Well, not exactly. Businessmen get paid top coin for the amount of education they get, but thank you. I don't know who did the pictures. Did he do the pictures too? If he did, it's amazing. Even so, it's there's a lot. 55% apparently of all the different, species of plants found in Alberta are found in Waterton Lakes. So that's a lot of stuff.
But anyway, what I was going to say is a lot of the time people, well, I have had people say, oh, well, even recently, I walked by somebody's yard and James wanted me to name all the different things for him, all the different plants.
Well, I was hoping.
Yeah. And the woman said, she'd asked what my education was. I'm a horticulturist, and she said, oh, well, you should know then. And it's like, what? Why should I know? I mean, I had planned on working in a conservatory with tropical plants, and so I didn't. Although my education was, I did receive formal education in Alberta. It wasn't. So I would know things that are native to Alberta more because there was more of an emphasis on that in the instruction, right? But that didn't interest me at all, really. I didn't plan on staying in Alberta, and I didn't plan on knowing landscape plants that would be common in Alberta or uncommon or whatever. And a lot of the time, people, they have their own garden and they think, well, maybe they have a few different species of plants, and they don't really realize how many species of plants that there are out there. Like James was saying earlier this year, like native plants, I don't know them. So
Well, you know them better than I do, so I can learn
Yeah.
off you. And stuff
But
like
buffalo berry, what I think is buffalo berry now, is the red berried thing that I thought was sea buckthorn. Because sea buckthorn, I know it has orange berries. It looks sort of like buffalo berry. And I'm
And
thinking,
you worked with sea buck. No,
Yeah,
did you?
that's-
They
I've
were
worked
using
with-
it for shrubs.
well,
right?
they use sea buckthorn ornamentally, but
Yeah.
apparently it's not native. So I doubt that the plant that I'm seeing down in the river bottom is some native form of red-berried sea buckthorn.
There's a
It's
lot of it
probably
down
buffalo
there.
berry.
There's a lot of it.
So, but I don't know, right? I don't know native plants, and unless they're used ornamentally, which then I might know them. But anyway, so, but James said earlier this season we were walking along and it was, I don't know, middle of we've been doing this project all summer, trying to really pay attention to when every little thing is blooming and we're trying to look at every plant as though they're a person. So we're really getting to know our environment, the people around us, the people that share our hikes with us, the plants, and some of the native wildlife too, insects and this and that. So we're trying to pay attention to these sort of things. And
Everything from
we're
the
learning
deer all the way
so
down
much
to
along the
little
way.
bugs.
And so James said along the way, somewhere in, he said he used to look at grass and he'd just see grass. It'd just be
Mhm.
one thing. And now he's seeing that there's so many different kinds of
Blue
grass in
grandma
there,
grass
and there's
was
so
a
many.
revelation. It's amazing. I'd never seen it, and I
You never
walked
notice
by
these
it.
things.
It
You
has
just think grass, but nope,
No.
different kinds. So
No.
all of a sudden, just by looking at things in a different way, trying to consciously educate ourselves, because most of the time we feel uncomfortable not knowing things as adults, and so we try to convince ourselves that there's nothing out there to know, or that you know what I mean, that we already know it all, so it's just a lawn of grass, right? It's
we
just a
tend to
but
think
that's
of
not
trailer trash people being that way. There's
It's
a
everywhere.
huge
But
that
Yokai
syndrome
did not
amongst
do that. When you
professors.
look at he earned his MA and PhD in botany from the University of California. I'm getting this off the back.
It doesn't
So,
say which one, but that's interesting.
California. So honestly, he wouldn't have known these plants necessarily. Probably not many of them at all.
That was his
He has-
master's and PhD.
Yep.
He
And
might
then
have come from here originally.
he lectured a bunch of places. He taught at the University of British Columbia.
Mhm.
So again, wouldn't be the same sort of plants.
I'm sure he was. Well, I'm sure, but he'd be looking at mountain stuff. But there is a difference.
Yeah.
Flora, you noticed it, right? Seriously, when we were in Revelstoke, right? There's a serious difference in flora
Yes.
over the other side.
And then he ended up here at the University of Lethbridge, and so then he started really paying attention to the native plants around here. So awesome! He really, really loved learning about plants. And my ex had known him, and I guess that's why maybe Job Kite has, he made an impression on my ex, and then my ex noticed that me and my father were really into gardening, and like I would just go through, when I was a teenager, I'd go through the plant books, like the identification books, just go through them and try to learn all the Latin names and everything, try to learn everything about how to identify them, because I planned on working with tropical plants and stuff like that. I had no interest in. So I was wanting to learn about plants from elsewhere, but that's it's funny how people are connected that way, and that was in a completely different place. I was in northern Alberta at the time, in the Peace Country, which somebody has said to me, not northern Alberta, because geographically, really it's not, but not many people live past the Peace
Northern
Country.
kind of means northerly.
Yeah.
If you say North Alberta, then
Yeah.
So people are funny, like they sometimes they want to mess around with languages and stuff like that.
When I say northern Alberta, Peace Country, I mean go up there, and you will
north of
see
here.
that not many people live past there.
It's amazing.
All of a sudden, it's amazing that the environment, if you look how far north it is, really, and that it's inland.
Yeah, it's shocking.
It's shocking that
there's stuff where you can grow
farm, honestly.
Farming crops really south of there. It's just amazing that it allows that
up
to
there,
happen.
it's interesting.
Like when you get around Whitecourt and what is that one place?
Whitecourt's cold, yeah.
It's up higher,
Bush country.
and then you go to the east of it. We've never been there, but to Swan Lake. Is it Swan Lake? Or what is that one that's in between Slave Lake and basically Edmonton? Where of course, there's a lot of Indigenous people around there, and they made sure the first time they put serious thing for getting rid of petrochemicals and junk like that, they put it in that area. I think they were saying, most of the reserves, Indigenous reserves, are north of there, but you look at where the river goes, Swan River, I think it's called, it goes into Slave Lake. Fun times. A little
Well,
applause for
government's
the
trying to
Alberta
clean that up
government.
now.
They're trying to
So
clean it
they're-
up?
Yeah. Well, I guess because of all the oil.
Yeah, I know, but wow, why do that in the first
Because
place? I think that was
honestly,
Ralph Klein.
the wealthy people who take the oil out, they don't actually put money into cleaning up their mess when they leave. And,
They're doing that.
anyway.
That's more like individual oil things.
Yeah.
What they did was they were having something to break down chemicals of various sorts around Swan. Is it called Swan River or something like that? Anyway, it's south of Slave Lake. And it would be some nasty, nasty things, and they don't break it down.
Anyway, this one came to me from the Pincher Creek Municipal
Thank
Library.
you, Pincher Creek.
And there's not there's a copy at our library. I don't know why this was sent. Maybe somebody else had borrowed it at the time or whatever. I don't know. But any case, this is an excellent book. It's not the first time I borrowed it from the Lethbridge Public Library, and it's you actually own a copy. I don't know where it is though.
Yeah.
But wonderful book. And
I think
I'd
I've got
highly
that.
recommend it.
I think I've both. He did one of prairie fauna around here.
Well,
Or Flora.
yeah, I put a link to that's online, and so I put a link in. If you look at one of the previous hiking in that we did this summer in the Coolies, I put a link to that great.
That one's
so
pretty
it's-
good, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, excellent work, very impressive.
Don't
And
necessarily buy it. It's probably like you say.
What?
Did you get it online? Don't buy it.
I'd buy it.
Let me put it this way. I would buy it if you're interested.
Oh,
But
yeah,
you know what I'm
but
saying?
I would say be interested.
Be interested. For Pete's sake. Yeah, like actually learn something
Okay,
instead
well,
of
borrow
learning
it from
some
the
Xbox
library for the
idiocy.
first time because there will be a copy of this. There should be.
There should be one at each,
Yeah, right
on
here.
the west side, and what do they call it? Crossroads, or over on the other side.
Now, Wanderlust, it's a lovely big coffee table book, and I don't actually like travel books that much, I have to admit.
Whereas I do, but there we go.
But I don't like the way I'm trying to find an example of that in here, but there's too much, it's set up more like a scrapbook. So to me, well, here's
Yeah, like
what a waste of, yeah.
Paid a fortune
Ugh.
for this thing because I'm sure it's a fortune.
Well, they probably did. And then there's a lot of crappy little artwork things that are, like scrapbook sort of things, like a picture of some binoculars in there.
Yeah, like
And whatever. So I tried to find a
those
picture in
things,
there,
like the way it used to be on the Mealers, the student newspaper, the Lethbridge, we in the University of Lethbridge,
Or this.
was we used to keep little things like that. Those now they've got them on file on the internet. It's
That's
just
really hard
I
to
need
lift
a little
up for you.
decal or something like that has something to do. I need something. Oh, binoculars. So
But
you pull something like that
This
up.
came from our library, Lethbridge Public Library, and they paid $50 for it. That's the Canadian price on that sucker. I don't know. You
Yeah,
can talk
it's
about
high.
it if you want.
I
don't
want
think
to
it's
talk
worth
about it
Okay,
because
go
I
ahead.
went through it. I went through it.
Sorry, you want it. That's a
Caveat
monster of a
emptor,
I'll put this sucker up
hopefully
here.
you're not buying it. So
This one's much better.
So this is a caveat. Auditor. So I actually looked in between the covers, but I browsed. I might get through it. I'm not sure. I don't know if you'll find out about that. It depends on whether this will be our last filing for quite a while.
I read through most of it, and then I got to things that they basically have it set up like these are your top 10 places to go, or whatever. Like
50 cities to
There you
visit
go.
in your life. So I think that's
There's
the one where I
a
visited
heading like
8 of them,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
And I don't care about cities.
Yeah.
I don't want to visit any cities in my life. I never wanted to be in the city. I came to the city to make money so that I could raise enough money to get out of the city and live in the country comfortably.
Yeah. So I love cities, especially big cities. But the whole thing is, I love going there, but I love even more leaving. It's something. There are places I like to visit and stuff like that. There's a lot of culture concentrated in these areas. There's a lot of low-life culture
You
concentrated.
can get culture on the internet now. You don't need to be in the city.
You can do that, but you get a certain sense of the lay of the land and stuff like that. So You know, I've been to London, I've been to Cape Town, I've been to New York, I've been to Montreal and Moscow, and they should have St. Petersburg here, yes, so on and so forth. So the thing that I don't like, this is a picture book, okay?
Oh yes.
This is a picture book.
Yeah.
Now, you got 3 pictures here. How many entries have you got here? These are colorful lakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe they're only giving you half the ephemeral lakes. They don't even have one for you.
Well,
right?
it's made for the kind of people who like to travel by spending money and going to restaurants and stuff like that. And we've read things by Moon before. We've reviewed things by them, and that's what it is. It's like, how can you go spend your money while you're traveling about? You fly to some certain place, and then you spend a week going to restaurants, buying stupid trinkets, and maybe laying on a beach or something. So you don't get things like really good ideas of how to, like hiking schedules or something, how to really see the places, how to become a part of that environment for the time that you're there, right? And so I don't like that sort of thing.
And they do have that later on, you know, these things. Did they have the best unique cruises? Cruises for, okay, maybe cruises. Most beautiful volcanoes, sure, yeah. Bike paths around the world. Do not bike around the world unless you're on a real bike thing. No mountain biking, you useless idiots who are into mountain biking. Best diving spots, diving, okay. Adventurous outdoors. So I was looking at treks of a lifetime.
Well, we are hikers, and if you are a hiker, you understand. You get to really hate mountain bikers because they are vehicles.
Loathe.
And they are vehicles that don't have to have a driver's license or anything, and they're on these trails to do some sort of, they think they're in a TV commercial, powering around and zoom zoom, you know, and they're gonna kill you. They're gonna kill you. So
and they've got a right because they're faster than you.
Yes.
And they've got a code.
We get when you're hiking, it doesn't take long for you to decide, okay, the trails that are set out for mountain bikes and hikers, and you avoid them like the plague. You just stay away from them because you don't want to die.
It could kill you like the plague.
Yeah, you're better off hiking in like some serious bear country or around known cougar kill sites or something than around on the mountain bike trails. They're scary.
So here's the kind of stuff that I don't like, and I think Pauline doesn't like. Flavors of the world. 10 food destinations. You can get food over here.
Yes.
You can really get food over here. Whereas, you know, you can get pictures of the Eiffel Tower, but you can't really see it. Mm-hmm. You know, same sort of thing. You can see pictures of the Empire State Building, but when you're standing underneath it, and you just look up and up and up, and you're kind of going to break your neck and
like
stuff.
There are different. I can see that. Like if you went to the Eiffel Tower, kind of put yourself in a position when you go places. Think, if I were writing a poem about this moment, would it be like the feel of the cold steel on the way up, or the contrast of this steel compared to the cloud or the smog or whatever it is, or the smell of whatever, you know, and try to really immerse yourself in that moment as though you were writing a poem to try to convey that to the reader so that they would feel like they're there too. You know what I mean?
So here's even a better example. Sorry, I thought you.
No, you go ahead.
A better example than Empire State Building, Eiffel Tower, Victoria Falls.
Yeah.
I was born about 3 or 4 miles away from it. You could actually hear the sound of it. I think you could definitely see it. I think you can see it about from 12 miles away, 12 kilometers. They say 12 miles every. See the spray from it. You know, that might not be all times of the year, but you don't. Here's the little picture for it. That's not going to give you the impression.
No, it's not going to. And I can't, by reading these descriptions that they give in this, it doesn't bring me there. It doesn't make me want to go there. It's like some people are very good at marketing. I've always loved television advertisements, and if they're done really well. because it's taken it to an art form. So there are some artists who are really good at marketing in that way, and I'm not seeing that in this book. So when there's, like I was saying, try to write as though you want the reader to feel like they're there and want to be there, want to experience that, right? But this doesn't do that. This doesn't do it. Try to think of it as though you're writing a poem when you're writing. Moon writers.
So here's a kind of ordinary page for them. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 great islands of the world. Is that what this is? Great reefs of the world, or beach locations, or whatever, lagoons. Dreamy reefs and lagoons. Okay, this is nice. These are nice, dreamy pictures here. The big trouble is 6 entries, only 2 pictures, small. And then they got one of these things, and these things are. We used to have them on the mirrors, like I was saying. Now you can get them on the internet. Why not have another picture there? Why not have a few less entries? And I don't care about how small the pictures are, but give me an impression of each one of these entries.
Well, the thing is there are too many books being written.
Yes,
and a lot of the time, people are writing as though it's a deadline. I'm going to be paid I want to be paid this much for how much time I'm putting in, and it's just basically it's garbage. It's garbage when it's as soon as it's written. It's not even worth having written, and it's certainly not worth reading. And really, that needs to stop. We need to look
it will. Most of the stuff's going to be on the internet. There's way too much stuff on the internet. I don't have to tell people.
Yeah, but this sort of thing, it doesn't need to be in book format because it's not worth it.
It doesn't have to be out there. And speaking of not worth it, don't pay the $50. And like there's a lot more things. If you're heading down to the library after COVID or whatever,
this isn't in color. It's more worth it. This is not. This is.
No
they
comparison.
can't even be compared.
Yeah,
this is worth it.
This was done
it.
by Yellows, for Yellows or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they could have done so much better job and stuff like that. Yeah, so they did a wine tour thing here. I've seen it on too many of those. Now I know a couple of people who did a wine tour. It was part of a group and stuff like that. It was a cycling wine tour.
Oh, well, that is interesting.
And they would be on regular routes, not doing mountain
Maybe
biking.
dangerous,
I respect that.
if you're cycling and drunk.
So I hope they
Drunk
were.
and cycling wine tour.
But one was my track coach, and another one was a guy who was on the track club before I ever joined. I'll mention his name because he kind of likes putting himself out there because his license plate reads Cool One, Kuhl. It's a good German name. And I used to know him, and I'd call him. The Germans have this term for someone who's really good under pressure. I think it goes kaltschnauzig, which means something like cool snouted. It's wonderful. And George, I don't think he minded it. I'd call him the cooler schnauzy, which is even better than kaltschnauzig, cool snouted. It's awesome. But he and I think it'd be people who are into biking and stuff like that. Some of them might have been former members of the track club and stuff like that. I don't think they were doing the stupid mountain biking thing. So they'd be on regular trails. This was in Europe. And I can remember they showed me, I think they'd been by Melk. There's a place called Melk. It's spelled M-E-L-K. There's a big monastery there. Yeah. And I think they must have put out some pretty good wines. So, but I've seen this I kind of like. But we've seen these shows, these travel shows, and some of them drive me nuts because I like watching travel shows way more, I'm sure, than you do. I like reading travel books. But they're going to some restaurant. They're going to some disco. They're going to some bar. Yeah. And I'm going, what the? How is this culture or anything like that? I don't know. I mean, you can do all of these things here and it's roughly the same thing. I'm looking at it and saying, how's that different from the Mark
I can understand some things like people saying, well, West Edmonton Mall, but I guess because
back in the day it was the biggest mall in the world, I guess.
Yeah. So I can understand something like that, but I mean, if you're not in the place with the biggest mall in the world, definitely don't. Or
Don't go to a
you
mall,
know,
for Pete's sake. Malls are dead, I think, now after COVID. They were dying already.
Yeah.
So you were at the mall recently, just saying.
It was absolutely dead. There, I just went in just briefly to see. And I shouldn't do these things, but I thought I felt pretty safe this morning, and so I went in to check it out, and I was masked and everything. Gloves. I always wear gloves when I'm out too, which everyone should. Nobody thinks about it, but if you, I mean, how you could get things under your nails so easily, and something as small as COVID, well, you gotta expect it's gonna be there, right? You can't necessarily get it out. You can wash 1,000 times a day, and it might still. Wear gloves.
I'd wear gloves to the hospital, except that's where they're stabbing the arms. I guess I could get stabbed here, but everywhere else I go, I wear gloves. You know, like I have to watch for it because
I've only seen one woman who was working cash, and she was doing it at Great Canadian Wholesale. She was wearing gloves.
You can get all sorts of wounds on your hands. I have to watch for it because because of the chemos that I take, I don't heal as well. One day
she was also wearing a mask. She was a smart gal.
We should be doing. It's kind of like triple bagging your hands, bagging your face with a mask,
Honestly,
and this social distancing. Or physical distancing. Whatever you want to call it.
It's probably a good idea to wear like those big earmuff sort of headphones, just around, and you don't even have to have the music on, just to keep your.
So people
honestly, I have
clear
this
of you. Is that
idea that our ears are gills, and this is where, like, when we've evolved, this is our gills, and like if you get a cold, you end up with an ear infection. When I was a teenager, I got an ear infection really bad, and then all of a sudden now, every time I get a cold, ear infection, every time. And it goes away on its own. So far, I haven't needed to have. I should have been, when I was a teenager, I should have taken antibiotics, and then I wouldn't have this problem now, probably. But now every time I get a cold, since then, ear infection. But I haven't had it really bad since I was a teenager, so I haven't taken antibiotics ever. But for that, what was I going to say about? Oh, I have this idea.
You don't think that it's necessarily that waterproof or airproof?
I don't think it's that. So I think that's why. Like, I noticed that when I was doing turf sweeping, when I was working at the research center here, I'd get really dusty. It'd just get covered in my goggles. I'd have like I'd look like an opposite kind of raccoon or whatever, because it'd be clean here.
Yeah.
And
it looks funny.
Yeah. And clean mask area where I'd wear the dust mask, and then dirty, like black everywhere. So anyway, I'd notice I'd get way more earwax when I was doing turf sweeping stuff, all the dust. And I think that's the body's way of trying to plug that up so that you don't get things in the ears, right? And I think a lot of things do get in that way. And we don't think about it. We think about breathing it in. Sometimes we think about our eyes, how that might be. But we really don't think about our ears.
Well, our skin is permeable.
Yeah.
And we should really check it up before we talk about it. But understand, you can check things up,
and check it up for
people
yourself.
Get it wrong.
I'm saying right now, that's what I think.
Sure.
It's based on nothing. Based on looking at fish and thinking, what are their gills? And actually, I had a little friend named Polypterus palmus, or I don't know how. Somebody told me it should be